we go through and how to get through them. I can't wait to get this out to y'all so it can also help your lives as much as it's helped mine. So let's get ready. Hi, welcome to What Are You Even Talking About? The podcast where we talk a little bit about everything and try to get through life's problems. And today we are talking to Carol Metz Murray. She is founder of the Naked Leadership Movement. She helps individuals, executives, and organizations who are ready to be leaders in a changed world unapologetically free themselves and be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Welcome. I'm glad to have you on this show today. I know we had some situations where we had to reschedule, but we finally got it. So I'm excited. And yeah, the first question I have is we asked the last guest to ask the first question of the new guest. So this is the question she came up with. What are your biggest lessons you have had from your challenges, and what are your greatest successes?
Well, first and foremost is thank you for having me here to have this discussion. And you're right, life did get in the way, and we were able to work around it, and here we are. So really, in answer to that question, which is a great question, my biggest life lessons is truly that life doesn't get easier, we get stronger. And in each life lesson, it really is, it may be really crappy that, that it was and I was going through it, but at the same time, it really helped me to stop and have a look at who I was and who I was being. And sometimes those lessons were much, much bigger than other times. And as a result of that, it certainly has helped me to build my character. All the experiences that I've had are exactly that, they're experiences, they're not me. So I would, I've learned to allow those experiences to go and really have a look at who I am in a different place. Sometimes, those experiences and I have to get them. And as a result of that, my strengths that have grown over the years, is I have the gift of being able to see people who look at somebody and know that there is something going on in their life from really truly experiencing who they are being to just use their voice to move themselves forward. So that's one strength. The other is that over time I've become a huge problem solver, and that's just innate in who I am. And I really that's a gift. And another strength that I have is I love speaking, and I use my voice to make a difference in people's lives. And I love that. I truly, truly love that. I have another strength of being an animator, and that is a strength that I honor it. However, over time, I've also learned that it's a good thing to put it aside because sometimes I can get into analyzing things way too much, and then that brings me down. So it's a skill that goes also can be very much useful. But in essence, it, um, we all have strengths, and we all have parts of us that are also weak. it really is looking at the whole of who we are, and then looking into who do we, who are we being, and who do we need to be in that precise moment.
Wow, that's an amazing answer. Um, I know in my own life, I overanalyze a lot, and it has kept me from doing all the things I've wanted to do. And in the last few years, I have learned to not worry so much. And because I'm not worrying so much, I'm getting things done that I never thought possible. And it's been amazing. And your story, I was reading on your website, is filled with just situations I could never see myself in. And I want you to talk about that because it made me realize how much I needed to be grateful for the life I've had. And I just went away with reading like, wow. And I was telling my mom that I was like, I have to talk to her. I have to talk to her because she's been through so much. And your story needs to be out there so people can know what they've gone through might not be as bad as they think, and to cherish what they've gone through in order to become the people they are. And I know with everything you've gone through, you have to be an amazing person. And I'm just really glad to have you here. So first, second question, you are called a courage catalyst. Tell us about your journey and how you turned what could have been life-threatening situations into a catalyst for change.
My first response is, where do I start? And because there's been a lot of different things, a lot of experiences that I have gone through to be here with you. And life at times was really dark. I mean, my journey really into moving me forward began at a very early age. And gosh, how to describe that in 5 minutes or two sentences or three sentences may take a little.
Take your time.
Bear with me. So really, I grew up on the Canadian prairies. I grew up on a farm, and I was just, that's where I was meant to be, connected to nature and the animals, and started learning about being a farm entrepreneur at the age of 5. And I loved all of that. Spent a lot of time with my dad. But then things changed, and um, my life shifted somewhat, and I became rather silent because childhood traumas and sexual assault that happened, and nobody would hear me except for my dog. My dog, who knew what was going on and would keep the perpetrator at bay as long as she was right there with me. That perpetrator showed up. But as a result of all of that, going into a teenager, um, more trauma happened. I silenced my voice because nobody was me. I also closed my heart. And as a result of all of that, when I stepped into religion, not that was that was physically, mentally, and emotionally incredibly where does that relationship I got to I'm a mom of four beautiful children. But that relationship too, took a toll, and it took not only me, but my children as well. And you know, it's one of the biggest regrets I have been in the relationship where it was not good. And that's really the time was saying. But as a result over time, and this happens to all of us, is that when we are dealing with traumas, we put in place coping strategies. And I became a peacemaker, a caretaker, and also a listener. So at one point, as you read on the website, I knew that I needed to get help. If I didn't, I needed to get out of the relationship because I would be, and that was became very clear to me one day when I was in consistent housing. But if it was hard, um, way to deal with it, and this relationship is, you know, I take you out and I do myself in. I knew at that point that I needed to go out and for the sake of my children and me. But you know, it's you hopefully and be good. But unless you actually begin to do stuff, all of that trauma, something is going to happen. When I fled my marriage, I then relocated to another part of the country for safety reasons. And I still continue to speak and eventually, my pivotal moment was coming to that point was that I don't know if I was because I was working for long hours. I was actually working in my teaching job because I am also very much a servant leader, so very almost prepared others. And I was also studying for my master's degree, and in order to do that, where I was living was far north in Canada, I had to travel about 500 kilometers one way to come to campus. So all of that, one day on the last, it was the last class where I stopped, as we all stopped to then begin to ride the campus, I was driving and came out of the trance and realized that I had been driving 300 kilometers consciously unconscious. I didn't know where I went. I didn't know where I went. And scary? Oh my God. It was so scary. When I got to my destination, I came to my doctor. And my doctor said to me, "Girl, if you don't do something about what's happened to you, I will make you do it. You have been under a tremendous amount of stress for most of your life, and you can't go on." And her words is, "If you don't do something about it, I'll make you do something." And then she said, "And I'll put you in the hospital." That was the pivotal point that I knew that I needed to begin really deep inside of me. This has been, and it was also, I had really picked, I had burnt myself out so badly. I was young and old, and my body just went low. And that's a scary place to be. Where I was a mom, I was a mom, I saw her children raised, and I was in an absolute mess. So that key pivotal moment was the beginning of me to climb up the spiral that I had started down. And this, when I look back on it now, what I did was I didn't think so at the time. I really, really didn't think it because I then began to learn more about who I truly am, is the real me. And I began to recognize the power of my voice, and I began to use my voice. But not only that, I think it's that I began to open my heart to possibilities of who I am and my contribution to the world, to others. And as a result of that journey, which continues today and will until I take my last breath, and as a result of that journey, I'm here in the music. That's an absolutely wonderful gift. And yes, there were many times of learning to be okay with uncertainty. And in that whole process, I truly discovered what courage was. And we all have courage in us, all of us. But often we push it down and we allow fear to come along. And fear is grab hold of each and every one of us. And it holds, it's safe, and pull us down, we got it. And I know that because I was there. But I also got to the point where it was no more fear. You get to the back of the bus and out, out comes courage. Courage, the root of the word courage is heart. And that is where to me is the ground of my heart. And it also, when I look at my life, it was courage was there all around. I didn't see it. I didn't appreciate it. Or didn't feel it. And as well, Mark, but I also realized when I grew up that I did have faith, but I had also pushed that aside. As that little girl, when things started to go really, really wonky in my life, we kept having arguments with God. You know what? They were one-sided arguments. I just didn't realize it until I was frustrated. But I also realized journey, and this is, for all of us, is to begin to believe ourselves. Because that is first and foremost, the number one ingredient in being who we are is to believe who we are, what we are, that we can choose to make a contribution and being here, making a contribution to be a good person. So in essence, that's my journey. And that, I just smile when I say people, well, whatever we want to say, whether it was God, whether it was universe, force, whatever, knocked on my door many different times, but I didn't listen. I wasn't hearing. My ears weren't open to hear the messages of it. So consequently, I ended up in that place of burning myself out so badly. And that's something else for us is to pay attention because we do have clear, clear messages and to hear, the support and love and those around us. And all of that helps us to get through to who we are and to really truly believe it in our really what I refer to as, because even here, in a very short period of time, that dash from when we take our first breath until our last breath is very short. And it's up to us to speak up, use our voice, be heard, be there in love for others. And to take things rightly in society, to make it and be there in them.
That's amazing. In my own life, it's been hard for me to speak my voice. Um, it's been, I've always been a people pleaser, and I've always been the quiet one. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago when I hit rock bottom and I was dealing with a lot of addiction. I was dealing with a toxic relationship that wasn't going anywhere, and it was slowly becoming violent. And it made me realize how badly I wanted to change my life and how much things weren't going my way. And I hadn't thought about in years because negativity was always in my mind, and I saw everything as wrong. And all those times I kept hearing a voice being like, well, change it. You have to change it. No one can change it but you. And it slowly, I started getting the help I needed. I started going to therapy. I started drawing, which helped a lot. And I see the change in me now that I wanted back then. And I never saw when it actually changed. Like, so I was just working hard on everything. And when I started to think about it, I realized the things I was asking for had changed. And when I realized the things I asked for had changed, I was like, well, why am I not wanting the other things? And it was because I had attained them and I didn't even realize it. And it just boggles the mind that when we know we need a change and we put forth the effort, how fast that change can come. It really shocked me. And it seems like you went through a lot of the same. And I try to tell people that it takes effort. You have to be willing to put in the effort to get yourself into a better situation. And it's tough for people to believe that nowadays, I think. Like they don't think it can be as simple as putting forth the effort into something. But I try to tell people whichever plant you water and give time to will bear fruit, no matter what that fruit is, positive or negative. Wherever you put your watering and time and give your time to is the fruit that you'll get. And it's been amazing the change I've seen in myself, and I want that for others now. And I think people like us have the pain that we needed to get us into a better place. I think sometimes it takes a situation to be life threatening to show us where we actually need to be. And I wanted to ask you, what is some advice for some of our listeners who may be in a relationship that is bad for them? And how do they know when they need to remove themselves? How would you think that, what is some signs of when you know you got to get out?
That's a really, really great question, Mark. And first and foremost, before I answer that, I want to acknowledge you for you realizing that it was you who came to that place of knowing that it, you needed to begin to shift your life, that things were great. And I acknowledge you for making that decision to do that.
Thank you.
because that's takes courage. It really does take courage. And I know it can be incredibly work to move forward. Quite frankly, the benefit outweigh the so thank you for doing that. So getting back to your question, so when we find ourselves in toxic relations and when is it time to leave? I wish there were a magical answer to that because each and every one of us will find or choose the time that is the time for each of us to leave. And sometimes, we find out that we should have, and I like the shoulds, left much sooner. But when we're in toxic relationships, things to look at is are you as an individual in a relationship feeling controlled? It's like, are you being is the other person constantly is texting you where you're at and when will you be home and who's good. Another way is livelihood. And that is certainly a growing situation. What's the conversation about? Are, is there, are you feeling kind of threatened, unsafe when you are with partners as well? Those are little things to begin being looking. Yeah, are you in an intimate relationship? And that's something to look at too, because frankly, sometimes, whether it be a female, whether it be a male, and placing ourselves in situations that we just want to and whether it man, I believe that as two individuals, it's consent from both parties to move forward. Another area to look at is influence. Are you in a relationship are you actually being able to have conversations about how partnership will be and if you're feeling afraid, the other part to it, this part is if you're afraid to speak up. I mean, that is something, what's going on inside of you. But if you're afraid to speak up, on in the relationship, and then if there are children in the relationship, it's really weird. With the children, if children suddenly having behavior issues that for the parents is having the courage to stop and look and think and begin to ask questions in a loving and caring and supportive way. And I could go on with many other things as well. Find ourselves in situations where relationship becomes toxic, and really to stop and say something, what's going on. And really, have, I'm sure you have learned, one of the biggest signs is communication and how you're communicating with others. If it's authentic, if it's constant, what are the emotions that are coming or into the conversation? All does really start with communication. And because if communication isn't clear between two people, they're not understanding each other, trying to understand each other, relationships can go south, as I say, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It's just, there are so many different things to talk about. And then as individuals within relationships, we develop patterns. As I've heard you mention some of your patterns, and I have mentioned some of mine. And we begin to cope by putting in place things that can make sure that we don't face the other person from getting angry and blowing up and being verbally abusive, being verbally, physically, and emotionally abusive. Oh gosh, and another point too is isolation. So if your partner keep you from, say, your family or your friends, and do everything in their power to keep you in isolation, sequestered from everyone. Those are things to think about. I hope that this is helpful to the listeners, and there's so much when it comes to toxicity in the relationship.
And I've noticed that a lot in my own life, that what you will allow will continue.
Mm-hmm.
And don't speak up for yourself. People tend to, not on purpose sometimes, but they start to walk all over you because you allow them to. And sometimes you don't know how to stop that. And you always have these fears that if you say something, they'll get mad at you, but you have to think to yourself, well, if they're mad at you, what does that mean? And what does it mean to you? And why is it so important not to make them angry? And a lot of cases, I think, is because, we're afraid they'll leave. And because we're afraid they'll leave, we don't see a life outside of that person, which makes it hard. But sometimes you just have to, because like I said, in my own situations where I would be in a relationship, I would find myself getting more and more insecure as it went on. And because of that, I wouldn't say anything about the, things they did that hurt me. And I wouldn't say anything when I started to feel resentment. And I wouldn't say anything when, I was just angry at life because I didn't feel I could trust that person. And after a while, I would just get so mad, and I would just be like, I have to get out of this relationship. And, it took a while. And after going through that over and over and over again, I was like, why am I not speaking my truth? Why am I always so afraid they'll leave? And I realized, that came from stuff because of my childhood, but I had to get over that. And once I did, I realized that the people I thought were there for me weren't, because they wouldn't listen. And when I finally started speaking my truth, they would tell me things like, that never happened. Or they would tell me, like, it was just a mess of the things they would say to me to try to keep me in a place under them so they could use me in the ways they wanted to. And once I finally started fighting back, it's so much clearer when someone's doing something to you. And it becomes so much clearer when they're talking down to you, when they are doing all these things to keep you from succeeding, because that means they can't use you anymore. And I think life has become, well, the people in our world have become so fast paced and what's the word I'm looking for? Just out for themselves so much that they'll use anybody. And it takes away from the collective. Like, so many people are so about themselves and wanting to be able to use everyone in their life that they can't get out of that mindset, or they refuse to because it works for them. And I just think, you want someone to apologize for you, and you have to realize sometimes you'll never get that apology, but you have to move on. And once you move on, it can be to bigger and better things if you allow it. Just like you allow them to treat you a certain way, you can allow yourself not to have to deal with that. And that's what I did in my life. And that's what I'm hoping the listeners out there will do in their lives when they realize that something's not working out in their life, and they can actually do something to change it. Because a lot of people don't think they have a choice. And that's not the case. People want people to think they don't have a choice, so they continue to do what they want. And it just makes it stressful when it doesn't have to be. And once you get out of the mindset of woe is me and all this is happening to me and I don't know what to do about getting out, your first choice has to be, I want different. And once you have that choice in your head that you want different, you work towards it, no matter how small the step you take. As long as your steps every day are toward that, it will come true. And I just want the listeners to think about that and think about, is it more effective to stay in a situation that's constantly bad for you when you know you could have a better life? What is the cost of you staying over the life you could have? And I'm not saying everyone should break up with their, partners or nothing like that. I'm saying if you're in such a situation that causes trauma and pain repeatedly and consistently, your life could be better if you want it to be. And I know it's hard to see that, but it takes time and it takes effort, and slowly but surely you'll get there. And I think a lot of people nowadays don't feel that way. And I think they see the world as terrible. And, with media being as it is, it's hard not to see all the bad. And it makes all of our mindsets more, negative based, where, we think more about, oh, this could happen to us. Oh, this could happen to us. Oh, this could happen to us. And, or, what's going on in the world, that it's harder for us on a daily basis to think positive. And you can literally do that with one thought a day, just a little bit more positive and a little bit more positive. And it'll snowball effect. This is what I was telling the last guest, was everything snowballs. No matter in which direction you move that snowball, it's gonna snowball. So if you are in a negative mindset or in a hurtful mindset or in a pain mindset, you're gonna get more pain, you're gonna get more hurt. And if you move that toward a positive mindset, you'll get more positive things. Not to say that it'll all happen overnight, but little by little, you will grow. It's just like the watering of the plants. Like, whichever you water is going to give you what you need. But what they don't need is toxic relationships. They don't need to be put in situations where their lives could be in danger. And we don't have any control over that, but we do have control over ourselves and the mindset that we have. And that mindset should be geared toward the betterment of ourselves, because it's hard to help others when you're always having to worry about your own threats and your own pain and people doing things to you. And I just see it as what I'm looking for. They don't have to go through that pain. We don't have to go through that pain, but there's always going to be pain we have to deal with. And it'll always move us. It can always move us into a better situation. Is what I think I'm trying to say. Please tell us about the Naked Leadership movement.
I will. Absolutely. And naked leadership is about choice. Truly, it is about choice in who we are and who we are being. And naked leadership is about truly, truly building the inner strength of who we are so that we step forward, using our voice and using all of the gifts that we have been given. And each one of us has been given gifts. What you said earlier, Mark, about things have happened, traumas have happened, experiences have happened to people all over this world. And somebody once said to me, yes, Carol, things happen in childhood. Things happen, traumas happen, experiences happen as we're growing up. But when we get to be adults, it's our responsibility to deal with it. But when we look at naked leadership is not instant gratification. Naked leadership is having that courage to really step up and speak up. It is all about understanding that, quite frankly, no one else is here to save us. None of us. We are here to save ourselves, to really, really know who we are, so that we can be in a healthy relationship, if that's our choosing. And what will that take? And as you said earlier, Mark, from my perspective, we're living in a very materialistic world. We're living in everything is instant gratification. That's not right. That's not naked leadership. And truly naked leadership, standing back and asking the hard questions, being clear on who it is to come and perhaps who it is that you're to be, and you haven't realized what it takes to get there. Pain is a part of growing. Suffering is optional. And therefore, we make it leadership. And I talk about inner strength. And to me, is when I look at inner strength, I look at the world. Because who is women and men as men truly understood our internal strength, this world would be, it truly would.
Great.
We would dive into being there as connection and support for each other versus being very individualistic. We as a human race need each other. And we also are being called to step up and to use our voices, to ask tough questions of ourselves and of others. And in naked leadership, key for me in naked leadership first and foremost have a relationship with myself. Because if I do not put myself first in my own life, how can I possibly be there for anyone else? And I've been told, well, Carol, you're selfish. And I just reply, yeah, I am being selfish. Because I need to take care of me. I need to use my inner strength and my inner being so that I can be there for you. I can be. And therefore, that whole discovery who we are. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes time. Quite frankly, it's a lifetime. And I believe that it is so worth it. It is what human beings call life. And the life experiences that we go through, that becomes the silver lining of every time. Because you are at this point in your life and how it is that you receive it. Yes, it takes that instant to make a decision that I'm going to change my life, even make a difference in my life. And to be there as that shining, make it be this like all the fire on naked leadership market. What about taking the clothes off? Just imagine what this world is doing. If each and every one of us stood back and said, what's going on here? In the relationship, and I'm not feeling very good about it. And you know what? When is it going to begin to change? Maybe that will be what the other person sees eventually because they will begin and maybe they won't. But for me, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my children. Because I am their role model, their support and guide. But I'm also doing it for community and individual. So really look at leadership is consciously choosing to be a leader in your own life. First and foremost, when you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, you are the leader in your life. You can your life in that way.
I can understand that so much because it wasn't until I decided to take control of my life and be the leader in my own life that I started asking myself questions about what I wanted in my life. And for the first part of it, I didn't know. And then slowly I said, well, there's things I want to do. Like I want to own my own business. So I started my own business. And I was like, now what am I going to do with this business? And I didn't have a plan. But I made the step of I'm going to own this business. So over time, I came up with a plan and slowly but surely enacted parts of those plans to get me to where I'm at now. And so I started an art studio. And I wanted to do life coaching with that. And so I went and started taking classes and getting certifications. I started taking other classes so I would have a lot of things in for my background and to be able to help more people. So from there, I started to do YouTube videos because I wanted a record of everything that was going on in my mind. And it was my form of journaling. And once I could, review the video I had made on a different day, I could see where my thoughts were. I could see what I was trying to accomplish. And with these videos now, because I moved even further in, now I'm doing interviews and stuff like that. It's talking with other people who have the similar mindset, which helps me get out of the old mindset that I had, and it changes the people who are around me. And, you know, it gives support, because it's a lot of the situations that the people I interview have gone through are situations that are meaningful to me, because I've also been through them. So it, you know, creates a support system of people who are there for me and who have, their words have helped me validate the choices I've made. And I feel like, you know, just listening to these videos hopefully will help someone else make that choice. And, you know, it takes little effort to plant the seed of change in someone. And we can't force them to change, but, you know, we can help them by knowing that they're not alone. And I just realized that I wouldn't be here if I would have not made the first step, and then the second step. And then the more I, you know, went through those steps, the more I craved the successful part of it, because I was, you know, being successful. And that became, I guess, like the drug of, to keep me moving forward. And it changed me to a point where the people around me could see the change and they didn't like it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to change for me. And then I could see when they would actually do things to me that were trying to keep me down. And as much as it hurt me, it let me know where they were at and how they saw my changes. And once I realized that they didn't want to be any part of that change, I had to remove them. And that's sometimes hard, but you have to do it for your own good. You have to be your own leader. And I started, what I would do is, in my head, I would talk to young me at 5 years old, who couldn't control the situations he was in, and the, you know, all the bad stuff that happened then. And I tried to talk to myself as if I was a parent talking to a child. So I would ask myself, what's going on? Well, I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling like this. I would answer as the child too. Like I would answer like a child would. And then I would say, okay, let's think about how we go through it. And with these steps, it helped me deal with a lot of trauma and pain that I had and didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to not be that pain, because for years I was that pain. And the longer you're in that pain, the more it becomes you. And so I talked myself out of it. And I worked hard on doing things different. But I also had to realize that I am the person who controls my life. No matter what anyone else says, I'm in control of my life. So if somebody says something to me, I don't have to do what they say, but I can take their, you know, the information they gave me and try to work it in. But if I don't, I don't. And that's what helps me be the person I need to be, is being able to facilitate between the information that works for me and the information that doesn't. And I think a lot of people nowadays, especially like you were saying, this world is just they're about themselves. And we have to realize that if we want to go further, we need everybody, because everyone here for their own purpose. So I might not be able to think of something the way that someone else can think of something. And that's why they're needed. And I think it's being pushed a lot through the government, and a lot of media is pushing this, be on your own, be on your own, be on your own. And it's like, but we need each other. We need to think more about each other. I think, because we don't usually. And our day moves so fast that it's like we don't have the time to do that. But when we think of others and try to help others, we push that on to other people, and then they want to help others. And then hopefully, I feel like we can get to a point where we're all trying to help each other. I don't think we're there yet because politics and all show us where we're at with that. But that's a small percentage of the population. They think like that. The average person is just trying to get by and trying to get through life. And as tough as it is, they don't need more suffering on top of that. And we can get out of that suffering if we get out of the mentality of where they're trying to put us. Like, we have to think different than what the media says. We have to think different than what the government says. We have to think about us for the betterment of others and not just for the betterment of ourselves. And I know we're running out of time, so I have to ask the last question that I always ask. What is the question you would ask the next guest without knowing who the next guest is?
My question for your next guest is,
Yes.
who would you have to be the best person in your life?
That's good. I can't wait to see what the next person says.
Well,
And I got this.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I got this idea from another podcast, Diaries of a CEO. And he always asks that question at the end. And they have some powerful, powerful questions. And I'm getting some of the greatest questions I've ever heard from doing this. So I have to give a shout out to them because that's where I got it from. I don't know where he got it from, but nowadays you have to give credit where credit is due. And I think that's an amazing question.
Well, and look at, just on what you had said earlier. So you got it from someone else and you're using it, and it's building momentum. It's been planting seeds, and the seeds are being, sprinkled on with water and love, and they're growing. And so look at the impact and the reach that you were having by bringing that into what you are doing and giving to the world. And you have said, thank you to someone else for giving you that idea. Really and truly, it really is about planting seeds. And as we plant seeds, we are there for each other in whatever ways it might be, whether it's using someone else's idea but in a different way, whether it's giving somebody when you're walking down the street. Something I love to do, because people really these days on to them, and I just keep smiling. And eventually, before they press it, they will give me a smile or a hint of a smile. People action, and we as people to stand up, really stand up and speak up and be there for each, be there for ourselves first and foremost, be there for each other. We need to let go of all of the addictions, and when I say that, it's addictions of our limitations, because we all have addictions in our lives of whatever they might be, if they hold us back.
Yes.
Them to hold us back. So, I'm just so grateful to be here with you all. Absolutely, this has been so wonderful to spend time with you, get to know you a little bit, and I just look forward to our continued support of each other as we move forward.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show. There's one thing I want to leave you with that I came up with, but I have to go make sure I get it right. So give me 1 second.
Okay.
So I made an equation, and the equation is effort equals actions plus choice over time. I feel that it's something that we need to realize in ourselves, that, you know, it takes action and it takes choice, but it also takes time. So if you take the action plus the choice, over time, you'll get the effort. And it's just something we should all work towards. I like to finish everything with thank you for today, thank you for yesterday, and thank you for tomorrow. Always remember to question your reality, and at every end, there is a beginning. Thank you for being on the show. You've been a wonderful guest. I hope to talk to you soon and continue support, because we all need it. And the more we help others, the more it will grow into something amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and be blessed. And I look forward to our next conversation.
All right. You take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was my interview with Carol Metz Murray. She was a wonderful guest. You should definitely check out her website. It'll be in the description below. And if you want to be a part of Naked Leadership, she is the lady you should get in touch with. I had a wonderful time speaking with her. I want to thank her for being on the show. And yeah, check out her website. If you think she'd be good to work with, definitely get in touch with her. And I'll see you next time.